I don't know what this guy's on, but he's just dripping in sweat. It goes from weird looks, approving head nods. I don't know what you're after, sir, but you are after it. The reason that I have the name the Hybrid Raccoon and the whole monikers to live fast and eat trash, if somebody's like, here, we got a big bag of Skittles, I'd be like, cool, that'll do for now. You can see some of the top performers in the world, their diets are abysmal, but it can power performance. I'm not a very strong person. Willie George, okay? He's a CrossFit athlete from France. He's been in the game 5 times. His back squat's 600 plus pounds, okay? I out sled pull him. I want to be somebody where we get to burpee broad jumps. You're up on me by 20 seconds and I catch you every time. I want to create weapons out of some movements that I have. You're like, dude, this is his time to shine. Here he comes. I've always said when I line up at the Elite 15, I have 14 problems to solve. For me to win world championships, I'm going to have to be able to run the soles off of everybody else's shoes. That speed hasn't been there. I'm starting to emphasize it more. That could give me the benefits that in the past has maybe cost me races.
You recently did an hour of burpees in an airport, is that right?
Yes. I was trying to go to Canada, and I couldn't get into Canada. I was heading up there for a we're doing a HYROX seminar because Ottawa is getting a HYROX in May. There's a gym up around that area that was really wanting to have somebody who was pretty knowledgeable in the HYROX space come up and work with some of their coaches that were going to be helping to develop people in the area for the race. And then also they were putting on like a half rock so that folks could go ahead and get a feel for it. And they had reached out a couple months back and like, hey, can we set something up where you come up here, you help teach a coaching clinic, you help do an athlete clinic and work with folks, and then go out here and race with folks and just, you know, give some technique tips, all those kind of things, just so that people feel more prepared over these next 5 months for what they're going to be getting themselves into. And so that was set up and I was on the way up there and got to the Canadian border. And it turns out that like the one type of public speaking that if you're going to teach a seminar and you're getting paid in any capacity for it, that you have to have a work permit for is just for sport. Like any other kind was fine. And when you look it up online, like it doesn't directly call out the sport designation. It calls it out in like this little byline on like some printed out piece of paper that they gave me. But like you look it up and we thought I was good to go. So I was not good to go. So I'm stuck in a terminal for like 6-ish hours with nothing to do. And I figured the best way to kill at least an hour of that was just to rip burpees for an hour in a very empty airport terminal. I was like, man, I was gonna go work out, but I can't go work out, so I guess I'll just jump up and down right here. Um, and I got some interesting looks, which this is not my first time doing burpees in an airport. Like this is not new. I wasn't like, oh, this is first time here doing this. I've done it plenty of times, having to work out air squats, push ups. I'll bring a jump rope sometimes. Like oddly enough, you can do kind of whatever you want at the airport as long as it's not stealing the plane. They don't really mind too much. So I got some weird looks at first, but I think if you just keep doing something, like if you do it for 5 minutes, you look kind of goofy. But once you've done it for like 55 minutes, people are like, I don't know what this guy's on, but he's on something and he's just getting after it. So like there was this like walkway beside me that people were walking down to go to their plane to board, and they had been on the other side of the wall where there was, of course, there's glass and you could see through it. So I think they saw me sitting there doing burpees and did it for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then they were boarding their plane and like they're walking past and they come and they could just see them dripping in sweat. And eventually it goes from like weird looks to just like approving head nods of, I don't know what you're after, sir, but you are after it. And so, yeah, it was 61 minutes and 915 burpees later. I was like, okay, I feel somewhat better.
Were you just were you doing like an EMOM or anything, or was it just continuous? Yeah.
Yeah, it was an EMOM. It was just 15 on the minute. And I was like, we'll just do 15 on the minute for a little over an hour. We'll just do it for 1 minute longer than an hour because why do it for an hour when you can do it for an hour and 1 minute, you know?
And what, so that'd be like what, like 45 seconds on, 15 off, something like that?
Pretty close. Pretty close. Towards the end, I was maybe taking like a little break and making like 48-12. I was just taking a short little pause, but for the most part, it was anywhere from 42 seconds to 45. And then I'd take 18 to 15, and then towards the end, just trailed off a little bit. And the thing that started to go was just more so like the like pressing capacity, just in your arms coming up off the ground. But the thing that was the most sore after was the hamstrings. Like for like
Mm,
3 or 4 days, my hamstrings, just from all the hinging, just up and down like that gets you more than your arms do.
yeah.
Um, so it's interesting what fatigues on you first versus what is actually sore later on.
Yeah, those long stints are interesting to find out those weakness points, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you take your body through a movement pattern enough times, like, eventually it's going to show you, "Hey, this is where I get tired first, but this is where I was actually taxed the most." So,
Mhm,
what it would be indicative of is like, "Hey, great, I have a good fatigue resistance in my, like, posterior chain, but overall, like we were talking about earlier, trying to train cardio with uppers is just really hard to do." Just because, like, we're mostly training our lower body for cardio capacity, running, rowing, biking, all that kinda stuff.
mhm.
So, yeah, the upper body just can't handle as much, before you start to just peter out muscularly.
Why did you choose burpees? Why didn't you go air squats?
Um, Actually, because it was a test that I had seen, like, a former CrossFit Games, I think Jason Khalifa maybe won the CrossFit Games. I cannot
Mhm,
remember distinctly, but he it was his test of, like, 15 on the minute for burpees. I have another one that I do. Like I said, this is my first time working out in airports, where I would do every minute, or I'd do 30 minutes of max rounds of 15 air squats, 15 push-ups. And normally my goal for that is to get over 500 with both the push-ups and the air squats. So during that time frame, I'm trying to go a little faster than around a minute.
mhm.
Um, yeah. So I've done that one before. I mean, even after I finished the burpees, I didn't get to run that day, so I just went and did step ups with a backpack on for a little while after that, to get like that in. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. That was just the movement I chose.
that's cool, and I suppose because one of my questions was asking you around the travel aspect of HYROX.
Hmm.
Uh, it's such a big deal, and I presume you're getting on a lot of flights, based in the US, like we drive everywhere in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'd imagine that would make you feel so much better as well when you're on the plane if you've done a workout and then you kind of got the endorphins.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in this case, like I travel a lot less than I used to, because like my job now is coaching. I used to work doing ergonomics, injury prevention, and corporate wellness programming with large manufacturing corporations. So I flew all over the US. So I was consistently having to actually train in airport terminals. Um, and so that's why it wasn't that new of a thing for me. And I mean, like, I'll prioritize my training over just about anything. So if I do have to travel or go get on a flight, I'll probably train before I leave for the airport or anything like that,
Mm,
to do a big travel day. But that just turned into a much bigger travel day than anticipated, and it just expounded upon the amount of time that I was gonna spend in the airport, and I was like, "I'm not just gonna waste time sitting here." Like, I've done mo I it was heading into the weekend. I had programmed for all my athletes at that point. I was like, "Okay, I've got my athletes done for the week. I'm coming up here for the seminar." Well, then that gets canceled. So I'm like, "Well, I might as well train." Like, we can figure out some way to move our body that'll be at least somewhat beneficial to get a stimulus. I'd rather do that than just sit in the terminal for 6 hours and poke around and, like, waste time on social media or I don't even know what to do at that point. Like 6 hours in this tiny little airport area because it wasn't even connected to the rest of the airport. I had nowhere really to go,
mm.
because it was an immigration sort of thing. So I was in, like, the US portion of the Canadian airport, and there's not really much to do there. Like, they don't have a Dave& and Buster's. I can't just go,
Mhm,
like, play games or something like that. Like,
mhm.
there's not much to do. So burpees was the thing to do.
Yeah, and I noticed you mentioned you had a challenge with refueling afterwards. Um, what is your like approach in general to that dilemma of traveling a lot and not having access to your own food?
Um, so I mean I'm honestly someone who the reason that I have, like, the name The Hybrid Raccoon and, like, the whole monikers to live fast and eat trash is that I just eat. Like, I just eat, just calories, whatever I can really get in, that I'm not A, like, allergic to, or B, it don't have, like, really bad GI problems when I eat, I'm just gonna eat it. So, like,
Mm.
I'm not really even that picky. Like, if somebody's like, "Here, we got a big bag of Skittles," I'd be like, "Cool, that'll do for now." Like, I'm not I'm really not someone who is super dialed in or worried about nutrition from a, I would say from a health standpoint. Um, Not to say that I don't think it's important, because I think it is, but I also think it depends on what your goal is. Like, if your goal is to be healthy, then your diet needs to be really dialed in. But sometimes for performance, that's not it doesn't always play that way. Like, you can see some of the top performers in the world from an athletic standpoint, their diets are not good, or not what you would consider good from a macronutrient, micronutrient standpoint. It looks abysmal, but it can power performance because for at least some period of time, you can run off of just whatever caloric substrates you decide to give yourself. And there are guys who put out tremendous efforts, and then you're like, "Should we eat like you?" And you're like, "Please don't." Like, if you would like to live a long and healthy and happy life, you probably shouldn't follow this. Um, so that does make it to where there are moments where maybe I'm not as, like, worried about that. Like, I finish it and I'm like, "Oh, I have to have my special fueling, and I need to eat this, this carb, protein, fat ratio and get all that." I'm just like, "Can I find some scrap somewhere that'll do for now, and I'll be
Yeah,
okay."
yeah, yeah, man. And the reason I ask is, we were just chatting. I had a difficult race at London Pro and got injured, and I used to be loads more on it. Like I would take and it's like because we I would drive down to Manchester with a massive cool box thing with all my food in, and I would
Mhm.
eat it in the hotel. And I used to be like really dialed in like that. And then in the last year or so, I've become much more relaxed
Yes.
and had my best ever performance off eating Nando's the night before. And then that was kind of like, oh, right. And I think the benefit that you gain in actually being able to enjoy being on the road and eating at restaurants, right? And usually being with other people as well, you're more likely to be socializing.
Yeah.
I think that wins out as well. But because I'm kind of analyzing, I'm like, oh, what happened? What went wrong in that race? And I was like, well, I was eating crap all weekend in London. I wondered if it would be something, but now hearing you say that, I've heard it so many times before with really high level athletes, and most of them eat like shit.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's what you're now, if you're just suddenly throwing in something that you're not used to,
Mm,
then yeah, of course, that you're jeopardizing yourself. And I will, at least as I get closer to races, try to simplify my diet to not be, like, as loose, but I don't suddenly, like, become, you know a stickler on things. There are just certain foods that I'm like, "Okay, probably don't mess around with that." Like, you've had, stomach issues during hard workouts, at least in proximity to eating this, maybe stay away from it. Or I know that if I just go pretty simple with, like, just rice and salt and cheese and a little bit of protein here and stuff, very simplified diet that just gives me some of the macronutrients I need, we can do that near workouts or and races and be fine. But, like, overall, day to day, I'm definitely not gonna be somebody who's like, you're walking into the gym and somebody's got, like, some gummy candies, and they're like, "Bro, you want some?" I'll be like, "No, I can't have those right now." I'll be like, "Yeah,
mm,
absolutely, why not?" Like,
mhm,
um, I'm about to rip through this anyway. But again, that's performance versus health. You'll get 2 totally different outcomes if you continue down that route. Um and so, like, later on in life, as I get away from chasing performance and I'm thinking about health, I'm gonna have to retool things. Like, that's without question. And that'll be a difficult retooling, to be honest, because my body's
mhm,
gonna be so used to this pretty highly processed diet, with tons of carbs and sugar. And I'm going to have to, apply discipline into that area as opposed to the discipline towards training that I have now. But
mhm,
hopefully, with willpower being something that I believe is fatigable and transferable, the willpower fatigue from having to force myself to train 4 to 4.5 hours a day then comes over to eating where it's like, okay, hey, you've got to clean this up. And I know that I can do that if I need to.
mm. Yeah, definitely. It's something I think about a lot, and when I'm training hard, and like you say, I've got all the calories coming in, I'm kind of like, is this healthy?
No.
And then I actually on Monday I decided, I was like, my coach didn't like it, but I was like, I'm doing a fast. I know it's not optimal, but I just feel like I need it because, like, just like you say, eating loads of simple carbs and stuff, and but I'm not like trying to be world champion like you.
Yeah, it's a totally different, and, like, if you feel like your body's just needs that, and you're somebody who's fasted before. I mean, would I say fast near a race? No, but you're far enough out from a race that if you did a fast on a Monday and you're not racing until Sunday, like you've got
Hmm.
plenty of time to restore any of the glycogen like levels that have gone down in whether it be the muscles or the liver, like all that can get replaced pretty quickly. And if you're
Yeah,
just like, dude, I feel like I need to back off and just give my body some time away from being in an anabolic state and kind of go into that catabolic, autophagic, just kind of like, all right, what comes from fasting for I don't know how long, whether it be 24 hours for I don't know how long you went for.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
did just less than 48 hours. It was about
yeah,
46, something like that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
something like that. If you're able to do that, I think that there is definitely from what I understand from fasting, there are benefits to doing something like that, um, that would not play in athletically, but from a longevity standpoint would definitely be
Mhm.
useful, for some of the different metabolic processes that get turned on when you put yourself into that state of, a lack of consumption.
Yeah. Yeah, and it did make me feel tons better, and I thought to myself, it's like, well, when else am I gonna be able to fit this in?
Yeah,
Because obviously after the race, I'm having a few days off anyways, so it's
yeah,
kind of perfect time to just chill out, and it's interesting. I felt like on a central nervous system recovery, felt
mhm.
like I recovered better than ever. Um, so that's interesting. Wonder what's going on there. Um,
Not smart enough to know.
yeah, yeah. What about so I know you're a coach alongside
Mhm.
your own HYROX stuff. What are your principles, coaching principles?
Yeah, so I think that number one, it was something that we were talking about earlier, how you said you had had kind of like a 12-month span of being able to train without any kind of injury or any problem like that. I think the very first thing that you have to have for any kind of training program to be effective is consistency. So like that's number one. And the way to get consistency a lot of the times is actually through variability. And you get consistency through variability because you begin taxing different movement patterns and systems. So I think that we need to have a consistency of training volume, but we need to have a variability in how we apply the stimulus, and that can allow you to stay healthy over time. So I'm a big fan of using different modalities for training systems. So I like I said, I like cycling, I like running, I like rowing, I like skiing. I like us to be able like if we're going to train the aerobic system is just a bunch of pumps and valves and pipes and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't know why or how you're taxing it. Okay. If you got your heart rate to 135, it doesn't know if you got it to 135 running, doesn't know if you got it to 135 on a bike. Doesn't care about that. Now your nervous system does, because your nervous system is going to have to play into motor recruitment and movement patterns and all that. So I like to think about the fact that, okay, we want to do the dumb work in the easiest way possible that is least taxing on the muscular system that's not going to cause injuries or anything like that. And then we want to do the smart work in the most specific way possible. So any of the movement patterns that we need to train for high neural output or anything like that, we should probably train really specifically. So like when we run, we should run fast and we should run at race pace or a little bit quicker than race pace. Sometimes we're gonna run easy just so that we can get time on legs to accumulate the volume and pounding needed so that when we go to run fast and run at volume at those paces, our body doesn't get injured from that new stimulus because now we're asking it to run 8 to 10K at a very fast pace. Um, and that's gonna put a lot of excess stress, and if we haven't done any base volume running, then you're probably gonna pick up an injury from that because even though you've done all of the the easier zone 2 work in other ways, you haven't trained those muscles to get pushed to that limit. So we do have to do some base running, but like I said, I wanna create a cardiovascular system that's really strengthened through the least amount of muscular damage. I wanna create specificity for the neuromuscular system for the movement patterns that require high output and racing. And overall, I want you to be doing it in a way that allows you to be consistent, not just from an injury standpoint, but also from a like enjoyment standpoint. I need you to like what you're doing. I need you to like how you're training. So are we doing all of our training in isolation because we like to be by ourselves and we're more of a loner and we like to do our training and kind of be up in our head? Or do we need to be in a more communal aspect? Therefore, we need to figure out, okay, how can we adapt the training that I'm going to ask you to do to working into group classes throughout the week so that you have a social setting that you're in? Because some people love being in isolation, some people love having that social setting. And if you remove them completely from either of those and you start making them like join run groups all the time or do classes all the time, they're going to get burnt out because they're socially overwhelmed. And they're like, I don't like this kind of training. It's too much. Um, and then if you go the other way and you put somebody in isolation all the time, well, they're not going to like it either because the social aspect is what really they're there for. And so you have to look at it from multiple different levels. So we've got to figure out what somebody's physiology can handle from a training load standpoint. We got to understand what they can handle psychologically and emotionally from the social aspect, as well as what other hats do they have to wear in their life. So I can't just look at most of the athletes I train, almost all the athletes I train are not professional athletes. They're doing something else. They have a job, they have kids, they have a spouse, they have, demands. Maybe they've got a aging parent, like they're an older individual, they got an aging parent, they're dealing with them. So we have to look at everything and kind of put together an understanding that we are not going to be able to make training your number one and only thing that we focus on. We've got to make training as ideal for the life circumstances that you're given, and we're gonna mold things, to fit whatever comes up in your life. And so I'll come at it from my approach, but I need to understand that you're gonna have other things that you're gonna come to me with, and I'm gonna go, "Okay, we gotta adjust this and we gotta change that," and try to make it work. So I think that that's ultimately what it comes down to. We wanna create consistency. We create that through variability of stimulus, but we also have to have adaptability for life circumstances because all of those together are gonna end up creating kind of a complete training program that allows you to, again, do it consistently.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because it's something I've been chatting to my coach about a lot recently because I've been really missing the social side of it.
Mhm.
And for a long time was not wanting to say anything because I'm like, well, if I do a class, then I'm not going to get in the lunges that I've been prescribed or whatever. And so, yeah. And my question to you actually around that is if you get invited to train with someone,
Mhm.
is that something I'm trying to look to do now to do more social stuff, train with other people, train with people better than me?
Mhm.
How do you look at I don't know, designing a good session that would work? Let's say if someone is a little bit faster, let's say they're 10 minutes faster on the HYROX, do you just go like try and keep up with them, or how do you adjust that? Because obviously that can be very fatiguing for the slower person if you're not careful.
I mean, if like, you should be able to scale everything. I've worked
Mm,
out with people who are way slower than me. Plenty of times. Plenty of time like, I've trained with my wife before, and, like, okay, I can run 16 flat or so for a 5K, she can run 22:30. We can find a way to do a workout together. We ski completely different paces, we row completely different paces. We can create a workout where we can train together. Um, you should be able to scale everything. Like, I could take any of the folks that I train and I could say, "Hey, we're gonna do a workout together," and I can create a scaling pattern where both of us can get a great workout at the same time. Um, and really it just comes down to, like, do you understand how to scale a workout properly? And it really depends on what the workout is that y'all are doing, and it might not be like, you're not gonna do things one to one. Like, we just have to understand that, and the ego has to be willing to check it. Like, you have to be willing to say, "Well, I'm slower than you, like, I should do this much, and we should start working out distances and paces and how should things align, weights that we should use," all that kinda stuff. Um, but yeah, I think it'd be really dumb to go into the workout and be like, "Oh, I'll just keep up as long as I can." Well, then you're not actually getting the intended stimulus of the workout. They're doing a completely different thing than you are because you're operating at this zone way up here and they're operating down here. and then all of a sudden you're racing, like, if y'all are both training for the same thing and they're doing the intended stimulus for the work for the, race, you're going way above it, and
Mhm.
basically they're training for a half marathon effort and you're doing a workout for a 3K,
Yeah.
and it's just not the same because you can't do a 3K level effort for nearly as long as half marathon level effort, and you're gonna peter out and be gone. You're not gonna touch on the energy systems you were trying to hit, and it's like, "Alright, well, I don't even think I didn't get any of the intended purpose from this." Whereas if you've scaled it properly, y'all should be if you're not dead in line, you should be, eh, not too
Mm,
far off. Um, and so, yeah, that would be my thought. You gotta just find somebody who's willing to work with you on that.
yeah, and I that's interesting because I was thinking then about sessions where I've done, and I'm like, I can keep up on the runs. But then we get back in into the stations, and let's say it's like another 4 minutes, and then I'm definitely not going as hard on the station. But
Yeah,
because you're in like maybe a class environment, that doesn't get picked up. But I'm still going on the runs and doing the whatever 3:30 pace, and looking like one of the fast boys. But like you say, yeah, it's going to be a totally different stimulus. If you're anything like me, you're probably good at starting habits, but fail to stick to them over the long term. There's probably one or two, whether that be going to the gym or taking the dog for a walk, but struggle to maintain others around career, relationship, or life goals. If you're a long term listener of the podcast, this won't be the first time you've heard me talk about habits and leveraging public accountability. That's why I created InDeep, the tool that helps you build healthy habits and stick to them. After creating your free account, you'll be given your own personal public profile link, which you can share with your friends, your family, coach, or followers. And when someone clicks that link, you'll be given a real time notification that someone is watching your habits. I can't tell you how much of a motivator it is when you're stuck in a procrastination cycle and this little eyeball pops up with a number next to it. My productivity has gone through the roof since I started using it. It's that effective. Luckily for you, I'm giving away 100 free VIP months to my podcast listeners. There's no credit card required. Head to indeep.com/podcast. That's deep with two eyes, INDIIP.com/podcast, or follow the links in the episode description below. Let's start crushing our habits today. What are your thoughts on training for both doubles and singles at the same time? Like, do you think they can complement each other, or do you think there is an interference effect?
I've so I don't think they're that dissimilar. Um, I think that I think that you can be a really good singles athlete and a pretty good doubles athlete. I don't know if you can be a pretty good doubles athlete and a really good singles athlete at the same time. Like, I don't know if one doesn't always transfer up, whereas the other does transfer down, but that's to
Um,
say that if you consistently train for a singles effort, you might be lacking, like, the pop and the speed that you need to give to a doubles effort. And then if you've only been training for a doubles effort, you might have the pop and the speed, but you don't have the long haul, and you don't quite have that, "Alright, I start to tip over a little bit, but then there's nobody there to save you." Like, you just tip over, and then you've gone past that red line point, and there's no coming back from it. Because normally once you've redlined in a HYROX, you're in a bad place, especially if it's a singles race. You can redline in a doubles race and you can find your way back. There are
mhm.
certain parts of the race where you have a pretty good break that you can get your heart rate back down if you've happened to pop it a little too early. Um, but if you do that in a singles race, you're just kinda out there on no man's land, and there's no coming back from it. So, I think that the 2 could potentially complement each other, and I think that I look at it from a perspective of I've been training a little more for doubles recently than I have been for singles, but I think it actually helps me in my singles races because I already have that long haul capacity really well established, but that top end pop that is needed in a doubles race, I don't have as well. And
Mm,
so adding that to my arsenal for a singles race could actually help me later on down the line because the way that it seemed like for me to win world championships, I'm gonna have to be able to just run the soles off of everybody else's shoes. Um, and that speed hasn't been there traditionally. Um, but I'm needing it for doubles. So I'm starting to emphasize it more. And if that does transfer over to singles, it could end up really helping me stay in contention early on where that gap doesn't happen, and then I'm able to attack at burpee broad jumps and then still run really quickly. Um, that could give me the benefits that I haven't had in the past and has maybe cost me races by either getting run out of contention too early or I couldn't run away enough to close down the race in the end. Um, so yeah, it has potential, but I think that it really depends on what your overall skill set to begin with as an athlete is. If you're
Mm,
already really explosive and poppy and fast and all that kind of stuff, more training for a double style race isn't necessarily going to help you in a singles. You need to probably prepare for that long kind of grind of sitting right on threshold and not tipping over. And I think you see, like, if we take, say, Jake Williamson, okay, out of the UK, he's one of the best doubles racers you could probably have. He races doubles amazing. He has yet to show that in a singles capacity.
mm,
It doesn't quite show up for him there. Not to say that it couldn't, because it can, but he has a very good skill set for doubles that doesn't transfer to singles. But we've
mm.
seen guys in singles like Alexander Ronkovic go down to doubles and it transfers great. Or Tim Winnish, like singles transfers down to doubles really
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I think that that's what you see. You could transfer down, can't always transfer up as well.
Mm. Am I right in saying your season so far, you started with the singles and then you've gone into doubles, is that right?
I actually I did a doubles. My first race of the year was in Oslo. I did do a
Oh,
doubles up there with Quentin Garrell, and then I went straight to Hamburg and did singles in Hamburg and doubles in Hamburg. Then I raced another singles in Atlanta, and then after that I did 2 doubles races. So
mm,
I've done so far this year 2 singles and like 4 doubles.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because you get like they are totally different skills when for example, like the burpees, uh I for my singles, I would always do well off like the kneel up method and just like
Yeah,
slow and steady, just like chipping away. Not very sexy, but it works. But then you go into a doubles race, and then if you start doing that with your partner, they're like, come on, man, like you need to be
yeah,
jumping, right? And that's where they feel like a completely different movement. And I did notice because I've done it the other way around. I've done a lot of doubles, and then I did my first pro last weekend, and just because I hadn't practiced that the just loads of time in that just kneeling up burpees like steady, steady, steady. I didn't have the neural part drilled. Like I just couldn't my cardio system was fine, but I just couldn't
yeah,
move it as fast because I'd
yeah.
not drilled it over and over. I kept on like feeling like I wanted to do like the jump, you know. But that would have been even worse.
It's like I will follow the same pattern that I use in singles as doubles. Like, I do the step up method in both. And it used to be that I didn't need like, I would avoid training the step up method in training because I was like, that's just an easier way. Like,
Mm,
now I'll still do the two-footed jump up sometimes when I'm doing, like, burpee to plate or something like that, but now I've just kinda come to the, like, you probably should practice exactly how you race. Like, I know it's the easier way to step up on the burpees and everything like that, and every so often, I'll go and revert to doing a two-footed jump up, but it's like, especially now that they've become so strict in the elite races with that, foot
hand
positioning,
placement, yeah,
with the hand placement and the foot
yeah.
positioning, yeah, both of those, that it's like just go ahead and drill the nervous system to be prepared to, "This is how you step, this is when your feet are in line, this is how far your hands go." Do it again and again and again so they become just thoughtless on race day, is where you wanna get to. Now, does that always transfer over? Not always, because some days race day, your body feels a little bit different. Some days you're a little more fatigued in training and you feel fresher on race day, and then, you're working with 30 centimeters is what you got, 30 centimeters with your hand
Mm.
placement. And then with your feet, you're working with whatever is discernible to the eye as a stagger. If you got somebody with a bit of a funky vision, then maybe they see your feet and they're perfectly in line, and those suckers are like this. And so you're hoping that you have a visually impaired judge that anytime your feet are off center, they actually see them as a line. So,
Yeah.
like, at this point in HYROX, you get to a major and you just cross your fingers for a judge with visual impairment. Um, you're like,
I wonder
maybe
if
you
that
could go
maybe they'll design a shoe that's got like zebra stripes, so like so you can't actually see.
dude,
You heard it here first.
yeah, whatever it takes to start confusing the judges to be like,
Is
"Ah,
it
his feet
dazzle
were."
camouflage?
Yeah, whatever. I'll take it. Either that or we figure out a better way than using the human eye to judge these kind of things,
Yeah,
because that would also be quite beneficial, but I don't know, like, for now, that's what we'll stick with. But yeah, same thing. You trained a different way, and then you had to do it on race day, and your body felt all kinda cattywampus, like,
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, sure. What do you think about making the step up to doubles for amateurs?
Mhm.
And someone, it's a very selfish question. Someone like myself, more of a runner,
Yeah.
not a big guy. And something that I've been sort of thinking about recently is like, am I just not cut out for the pro? Should I just stick with the open? Am I just against genetics? Is it just
Mhm.
too much? I told you before I got injured because that increase in like sandbag lunges, 150% on the open rate. It's a lot, isn't it? And I wonder, yeah, can people adapt to it, or are some people just better suited to the open?
Some people are gonna be better suited to the open, um, and those are gonna be just like your okay, so if we look at the best distance runners in the world, alright? How are they normally statured? Our best of the best, 5'5", 125
Mhm,
pounds? That's normally what you're seeing. Like, the
mhm.
fastest runners of all time, when we start looking at some of the Ethiopians and the Kenyans and all of them right there, they're clustered in between, on the shortest end, maybe 5'3", on the taller end, maybe 5'8", and they're all gonna be between 125 to 135 pounds, and they can run. Um,
Was that about like 70 kgs? Is that something like that?
but less than that,
Is it?
that's probably closer to 60 to 64.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so we're looking at and I don't know the height in centimeters and everything, if I took it down. I'm 180 odd centimeter 188.
Oh, we're good with inches. Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
most
okay,
people actually in the UK would do feet and inches and then
okay.
stone and pounds, but I've gone to kilos. I just prefer
Oh, lord. Alright,
kilos.
so let's see. What is let me think about stone. Let me think about is stone 14 pounds or 16?
It's 14. Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're working with,
Yeah.
like, 7-ish, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. We're working like 9 stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about what they'd be. They'd be
Like
9 to
a
9 and a half
a
stone.
size 8 woman.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
a
yes.
petite, like
Like,
yeah.
legitimately, like, they'd be, like, built like my wife. Like, my wife's,
Yeah.
like, 5'3", 127 pounds or something like
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
but they're gonna be, like, really wiry. Um,
Mhm.
that build is not conducive to pulling a sled. You know? That build is not conducive to wall balls and lunges and everything like that. Like, it's a very runner build. You're gonna be very slightly built through like, your bone structure is gonna be small. You're not gonna put on weight well, but you're gonna fly around that course, and you would move through a lightweight pretty well. You're not gonna move up, like, say, a Kenenisa Bekele and put him in pro and be like, "Train for this," and he's gonna get really good at it.
Mhm.
He's gonna be really good at the running, and then the sled pull is just gonna eat his lunch. Um, and so he's better off now could he do it? Absolutely. Like,
Mhm.
I think almost anyone with enough time and enough effort placed towards the pro weights and high rocks can do it, because I don't think any of those weights at this point are so astronomically heavy that they can't be moved. Now, if you went back to when I first started racing high rocks in 2021, the sleds, given what they used to use for the type of sled as well as the carpet back then, used to be so much heavier.
Oh,
So,
really?
so much heavier. Like, I've told people, nowadays you go to a race and you do a sled push in the pro weights at the top end of the race. Like, if you push 3 minutes, you're not having the best push day out there, okay? Like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna push 2.5 minutes, 2:20, and that'll put me near the front end of the field. Back when I first started, I would sled push 4:30, and that was pretty good. Like, I
Right.
was still very much in the mix. Like, I pushed 4:30, and then maybe there were some guys that pushed 4 minutes, and there were some guys that pushed maybe 3:45. But you didn't see a 3-minute sled push. You didn't see a sub 3:30 sled push, somebody just gapped the hell out of the field, you know? That's how it used to be. Those sleds did not move, and the sled pull was the same way. Like, you would have sled pulls that would take 5 minutes. If you took a 5-minute sled pull in a pro race today, you're out of the race, everybody's gone. You've had a chance, like, you weren't done for yet, You might have pulled 5 and the guys in front of you pulled 4:28, and you're like, "Okay, I'm 22, I'm 32 seconds down, but I could still come back from this." And I had races like that before,
Mhm.
where people put 40 seconds into me at a sled push. I pushed 4:40, and then I came back into the race because that's just how the race used to be. And so back then, I would say, yeah, you should stay in the open category if you're a slider. If you're 5'8", 140 pounds, you're gonna struggle up here with these weights. Like, regardless of how hard you train it, they're gonna take a lot out of you.
Mhm.
To the point where you could put down some crazy good open times and then just get crushed in pro. But now with the differences in the carpet that's being used and the sleds that are being used, I think that it's, applied strength training for just these specific movements of push, pull, lunge, you'll be fine. It's not how it used to be. And none of these movements are that complex. You know, I'm not a very strong person outright. Like, my deadlift is not great. My back squat is not great. My front squat, not good. Like, if you had me do any CrossFit style movements, I'm terrible at them. Like, I'm really, really bad strength wise. But specifically for pushing and pulling a sled, you can take a guy who he can probably almost double my deadlift.
Mhm.
And I know for a fact that there's a guy who just competed I think it was in Ghent, Willie George, okay? He's a CrossFit athlete, from France. I think he's been to the game 5 times. His back squat's like 600 plus pounds, okay? So he's almost got triple what I can back squat, but I out sled pull him.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a strength thing that is just correlative across all the different lifts. It's very specific to pulling a sled and pulling a sled under fatigue. Um, that if you got highly fatigue resistant individuals who just train to pull a sled, they don't have to be that strong. They just have to be fatigue resistant and train pulling a sled, and they can come up and they can do that at the pro weights now, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, so you don't think there's like a threshold of a weight that you should be to pull? It's like, for example, sled pull. Because
Mhm.
I'm like 80 kilos. I don't know what that is. Do you know?
Yeah, that's 176 pounds.
176. Yeah. So it's almost double. You're almost pulling double weight.
Yes.
Um, and then yeah, when I got to the sled pull, and I was like, and I'd done loads of training. Thought I'd be good, and I was like,
Yeah.
nope. I'm like, that feels 10 times heavier. Like it's not moving.
Well, I do have good news for you. I'm 74 kilos. So,
Okay, there we go. No excuse.
um, yeah, 74. Now, but the thing is, like, when I train sleds at the gym or anything like that, I'm training it at 250 kilos, 300 like, I'm making it super heavy to the point where the limiting factor is my feet won't stay on the ground, like, they just slide out from under me, like, it's my
Yeah,
shoes don't grip the floor,
yeah,
and when you've trained that heavy, eventually, like, but there are some, unfortunately, while we do want everything to be super consistent, you could get a sled lane that is just bad,
yeah.
and it feel like you grab a hold to it and you go to pull it. Like, I've had this happen before with people who were, I know they were strong. Like, there wasn't a sled out there that they couldn't pull, but they get a hold to a sled lane that just has it's just a bad lane.
Do you
Like,
know,
the
I'd not
carpet's laid
even
down.
considered that.
Yeah,
I
the
can't believe
carpet's
I've not
laid
even
down
thought that.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I
and
mean, you
then
don't
all
wanna
of a
make
sudden
excuses, do you? But yeah, it is a
you don't, but we've seen enough inconsistency to know that if you know you're strong enough, and then all of a sudden you're not strong enough on race day when everything else
Mhm.
seems to move, and you're like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah,
Then you've run into an anomaly.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I think that as well started the hamstring off, 'cause I
For
sort of
sure.
leant onto one side, and I remember
Yep.
pushing a bit with then so obviously early on, I've got that fatigue, and then I hit the lunges later on. It's
Yes. And that's an
yeah.
area that I see a lot. Hamstrings and lunges are an area where a lot of people actually have trouble that they don't expect to have trouble. Um, and I see it more from
Yeah,
my
I didn't see it coming because it's always
yeah,
my meniscus. I'm always kinda, like, worried about my knee, and then I
yeah,
wasn't thinking underside.
nope. I've seen a lot more people go, "The hamstrings cramped up on me during lunges, and I've had to drop out of a race, or it really messed up the last 15 minutes of my race." I've seen that happen more often than most people would think with athletes that I've coached.
Mm. What are your thoughts on strengthening the hamstrings? Again, are you going like just all specific, or do you add in other things, such as RDLs, etc., glute
Yeah,
bridges, or
um, so I think honestly for me, one thing that'll actually strengthen your hamstrings is low bar squatting. Um, the movement pattern of a low bar squat does really load your posterior chain more so than your quads, and I'm forced to low bar squat just because of how my femurs are and how I move. So my
hmm
hamstrings actually get a lot of activation when I squat. So I think that that is already doing some of it for me. But in addition to that, I do a lot of running on the powered treadmills, like the self-powered treadmills.
hmm
And there's a ton of benefit to that for the fact that you have to pull the belt with your legs. So you're instead of on a regular treadmill where the belt's just moving up under you and you're propelling yourself forward, you're pulling your belt on these belted treadmills. And I've been training on those for years, and I think that it really helps with your hamstring development and your hamstring fatigue resistance. Because again, a lot of times when I get athletes to start running on a self-powered treadmill like that and they have to do intervals, the first thing that goes is their hamstrings. Um,
mm
and that's because, 1, a lot of runners are not ever sprinting, they're just running, and they're running either at easy run pace or they're running at tempo pace or marathon, half marathon kinda stuff. And if you look at a muscular activation graph, during running at different paces, when you're running at easy paces, you have very little hamstring activation. Reason being is
mm
the pace that you're running at doesn't require you to decelerate the leg very quickly and get it back to the ground. So you can almost passively let your legs swing up under you and come back to the ground. You're not having to create this like, "Hey, I need to get my foot down again and again." So,
mhm,
like, you hear sprinters when they sprint, you hear those feet smack the ground. You hear "pap, pap, 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 pap." Well, to get that to happen, you have to cause your hamstring to stop that forward movement of your leg as it's swinging through, and you gotta send that foot back to the ground. So when we look at muscle activation graphs of sprinting, the hamstring activation goes through the roof. So you'll see distance runners, primarily recreational distance runners, have very little hamstring development, but a ton of quad development and decent calf development. And that's because those 2 muscle groups are getting heavily used during easy running. But during sprinting is the only time that you're really seeing hamstring recruitment. But you get hamstring recruitment when you get on those self-powered runners. So now we're starting to get easy running with an increase in hamstring recruitment, which can lead to increased hamstring fatigue resistance, which therefore later in the race you're not as beat up when you go to do those lunges and stuff. So you can get it a couple ways. You can get it by choosing which type of treadmill you run on. You can get it by incorporating sprint training, or you can get it through doing some of the different movements that you're talking about, whether it be the strength training with RDLs, with Nordics, with just any kind of like banded work on causing hamstring activation. You don't need a ton of it if you're getting it in those other ways. But yeah, so the way that I see it mostly in my training is I get it through the treadmills that I run on. I get it through the fact that I low bar squat and when I front squat, all that kind of stuff actually causes a decent amount of hamstring activation for me. And then I also do different movements that cause a lot of hinging and stuff like that. So that's where my hamstring development comes from. And if I might choose something differently depending on what an athlete has access to. If they can't use a belted runner, then we should probably incorporate some movements that are more hamstring dominant in other ways to get that kind of development.
mm. And a low bar squat, that's like a back squat where you just hold it a bit lower. Is that right?
Yes, correct. So instead of being up here on your traps, it's gonna sit more like mid back or so.
Yeah.
And like I squat so ugly. Like I have one of the ugliest squats you've ever seen. When we start putting weight on there, it's so bad. But like I can feel it. I feel like when I squat, it's like, oh, this is all just like glutes, hamstring, lower back because of where the bar placement is. As opposed to, when you see people like I watch a lot of Olympic lifting. Okay. So that's snatch and clean and jerk.
Hmm.
And those guys are all built with very short femurs, like relatively long tibias, and they squat just fucking upright. Like, I mean, as just as straight as you can possibly go. And so, like, as you're squatting upright like that, it's all quad. This is just a ton of just piston like movement up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's really just coming from straightening at the knee and everything. Now, for me, if these are my hips and these are my femurs, like where my fingers are here, my femurs cause my hips to push back. So when I squat, it looks
Mm,
like this movement of like this hinge, then up, then hinge, then up. Well, that hinging movement therefore puts everything kind of into your hamstrings and lower back. Whereas these Olympic lifters who are just piston like up and down, it's a
mhm,
lot more quad. Um, so yeah, the difference can be bar position. If I try to high bar squat, I can't hardly move anything. Um,
mm.
because I go back down and then I'm in such a weak position from a physics standpoint because of just my movement patterns and my anatomy that it's just like, yeah, dude, this weight's not coming up. You're fighting in the worst position you could possibly be.
Yeah.
Um, so, but we also don't want to make excuses for why my squat's so shitty.
So so therefore I presume that would mean wall balls have been your least kind of aligned with your anatomy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. And if you watch my wall balls, you'll see that same. Now, with the weight being lighter, it doesn't get as accentuated, how badly that positioning can be, and I've worked on it over time to where, like, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm finishing races with 100 unbroken reps of wall balls, um,
Did you? I
and
seen
doing a
that. Was that at Chicago? Did you do go unbroken?
Dude, I have gone unbroken in every single race I've done since New York May of 25 was the
Mm,
first race that I went unbroken. So I went unbroken there, and then I went unbroken at Worlds, and I went unbroken over in Hamburg, and then I went unbroken in Atlanta. So like it's become a trend now where I'm like, okay, and I know for a fact like I can do in my garage, I can do 200 plus without breaking. Um,
mm,
if I just come in and I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna warm up for a second. I want you to do as many wall balls as possible unbroken." I can do 200, 220 or so before I have to drop the ball. So I know the capacity's there, but the problem we run into is, again, with mechanics and movement patterns is my cycle rate is so slow because I'm 6'2" and a lot of legs, and I rely a lot on the tendon rebound in my knees
mhm,
to hit all those reps.
mhm.
So, like, you're probably never gonna see me get no rep to HYROX for depth because I try to put my ass on the floor basically. Um, but what you are gonna see is you're gonna see guys who do a set of 80 and then a set of 20 have a faster split than me, because the movement that they go through, the range of motion and all that, their cycle rate is so much faster than mine, and I've gotta find a way to clean that up to where I'm not relying on burying the squat as much and creating less of a structural rebound to get me out of the bottom and more of a muscular propulsion to, okay, we just passed parallel. We don't have to go any further. We can just shoot back up now. But right now I'm relying on, okay, we've passed parallel. Let's go down. Okay, the tendons are loaded. Now we're going to rebound off of that, follow muscularly, and shoot the ball up. And that just creates a much bigger range of motion I have to go through, but it still can give me wall balls in 348, which is
Mm,
good. But again, that means I have to have a 20-second head start because other guys can go 328. And that's exactly how I lost the major in Hamburg. I came in with Alex Ronkovic. I had a 5 wall ball lead. He goes unbroken. I go unbroken, but he beats me by 20 seconds.
mhm. And that's so painful as well because you've gone unbroken and yet, uh,
Yeah, it is. Like, it was funny. People are like, "Well, what are you thinking? Like, while he's passing you?" I'm thinking, "Well, I'm doing the best I can."
yeah.
Like, that's what I'm thinking. That's all I'm thinking. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go do 100 unbroken wall balls, and if he beats me, he beats me. So, I lost to the guy who beat me and broke the world record that day. Like, boo-hoo, like, I can't be that
Mhm,
upset. I ran a great race and I get 2nd. I was the 2nd best person in that race. That's
mhm,
fair. Like, I just gotta figure out how to be the 1st best person.
yeah.
Um, that's all you can really do with that.
We were talking a little bit about, running zones earlier on, and I wanted to just ask, do you think are there any running zones, heart rate zones that you would avoid?
Yeah, and I mean, the one that I would avoid the most is just like what we would refer to as that black hole zone of like that zone 3 when you're not it's where your marathon kind of pace would be at, and it's running in that zone when you shouldn't be, and that's primarily on the days that you're supposed to be taking easy. Like, um, I think the biggest like there's a misnomer out there of what zone 2 really is. I don't think people understand it. They think it's this magical zone that you run in for the maximum aerobic benefits and all that kind of stuff, and that's not why zone 2 exists. Zone 2 is a limiter on the effort that you're putting forward to limit the amount of stress that you're putting on your system to either allow you to accumulate a higher amount of volume or to be able to recover enough to hit a higher amount of intensity. Zone 2 is supposed to be there to create polarity. It's supposed to either allow you to recover so that you can come in the next day and you can do your faster sessions fast enough to get the what you need to be able to be in zone 4 or zone 5 for longer periods of time. Or what it's supposed to do is allow you to accumulate so much volume at zone 2 that it allows you to get the aerobic benefits that if you tried to run at zone 3, what would happen is you would either be overly fatigued from too much stress or you would pick up an injury because the faster that you run, the more load there is with each foot strike, the higher the ground reaction force is. Sprinting versus running easy, like the amount of ground reaction force that you get when you're sprinting and what goes into your body, what your system has to absorb from a tendon, ligament, bone structural standpoint is much higher than when you're running easy. So what zone 2 should be is to limit you from messing around in that zone 3 where you're constantly taxing the system just a little bit. You're constantly, pounding on the ground just a little bit harder because you're trying to run a little faster pace. And what's happening there is you're either not allowed to do enough volume because you're doing too much at this weird intensity that you're not recovering at all, or what it does is it makes you more tired. You should have recovered on Tuesday so you can run fast on Wednesday. Well, you ran kind of fast on Tuesday, and now you can only run sort of fast on Wednesday. And what you've done is you've eaten away at some of the effort that you should be putting into the next day because you decided you wanted to apply it to an easy day. And that's dumb because in that case, what you've done is physiologically, you've limited your ability to get the most out of that Wednesday session. And you didn't get really anything from that Tuesday session. So, you rob Peter to pay Paul kind of deal.
Mm,
And it's just that's the biggest thing about those zones is what they're there for is not because they're these magical things. They're there to allow you to either accumulate volume or limit intensity so that you can apply intensity later on.
mm. So are you saying that zone 2 has, like, an acute, adaptation? Like, so for the next day, I'm gonna do some zone 2 so I can train harder the next day. Are you saying is that because the aerobic capacity is getting increased on an acute level, or is it just the recovery element?
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm saying, no, we want to think of zone 2 as something that's not acute. Zone 2
Mm,
is something that is cumulative. Okay.
mhm,
So it would be that I'm training at an easy intensity so that I can accumulate a high volume of training, or I'm training as an easy intensity so that I can recover as opposed to training at a slightly harder intensity and therefore not recovering enough to be able to go hard the next day. So,
mm,
like, if we looked at it, I'm not getting anything beneficial from that zone 2 as my recovery day. That didn't create anything aerobically or anything like that. What it did was it limited me from going too fast that I am now inhibited the next day and I can't go fast enough.
mm,
So, it keeps you from carrying fatigue by saying, "Hey, do not pass like, don't pass this limit. I want you to stay down here," because when you're down here, you're running easier. The energy, systems that you're using, the substrates that you're burning are completely different, and they are going to be, basically, if you start bleeding in to those other energy systems, those are energy systems that you should be taxing on a hard day.
Mhm.
Why are you taxing that on an easy day? Stay away from that. And so that's kind of what the benefit of zone 2 is.
Do you ever do more sort of zone two aerobic, like HYROX specific stuff, or do you just keep it to like running, bike, etc.?
I almost find that it's hard to do zone 2 high rock specific stuff,
Mm,
because, like, you could, but you would have to keep it almost all machines, and you would also have to keep it very lightweight. Because again, if we're talking about, okay, so what was the reason for doing zone 2 training? It's going to be to limit the amount of stress and strain on the body. It's hard to do a zone 2 66-pound sandbag lunge,
mm,
you know? Like, if we're like, I could do those at a heart rate of zone 2, but I could also do heavy back squats at a heart rate that's below zone 2. That's zone 1, but I'm still gonna be sore as shit the next day. So
mhm,
it's like, I might have trained in zone whatever, but muscularly, I was asking a completely different question. So, you can't do, like, zone 2 wall balls, you know? Because the cardiovascular system might be getting taxed in a certain way, but the muscular demands are getting taxed in a completely different way.
mhm,
That it's not actually letting you accumulate volume at an easier level. Now, would it be easier than if you were doing it as hard as you possibly could? Yes, but I don't see the benefit, of doing it that way. I see benefit of doing like I was talking about earlier. If we're gonna train our pipes and valves and systems, let's train those the dumbest way possible. If we're gonna train our neuromuscular system and the high output power stuff, let's train that at the intensity of the race.
mhm,
So you're very rarely gonna see me doing anything that is zone 2 high rocks unless it's machines paired with body weight work, and I'm using like, there's a workout that I'll do where I'll do, like, 15 rounds of 500-meter row plus a complex of, like, push-ups, lunges, air squats. My heart rate for that's probably zone 2 the whole time, but also I have no external load, it's all body weight work, and it's machines. So, you could see it that way and be like, "Well, that's kind of high rock zone 2, but that's about as close as you'll get." I'm not gonna push or pull a sled at zone 2, I'm not gonna do wall ball zone 2. Maybe I could do farmer's carries, um, because that's not really that taxing, but still, like, if you're holding 140 pounds and you're running and you're walking around with that for a long enough time, that's still gonna be a lot of load on your, like, your skeletal system
mhm,
because you're not used to being another 70 kg heavier than you are right now, and so that can still cause some problems from I'm thinking more from a bone standpoint than I
mhm.
am from anything else, but yeah, so that's kinda my take on that.
Yeah, that's cool. We've got some audience questions actually before I forget.
Yeah, you're fine. I'll ramble for a while.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Uh, I love the long form rambles. Um, all right, so we got Jack M
Yeah,
says, how does he program his running? How much speed work does he add in?
yeah. So for me, I run roughly 65 to no, roughly 70 to 75 kilometers a week. Is about what I'm running. And if we look at what we would call speed, and in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to speed as anything at race pace or faster.
Mm,
Um, the amount that I'm getting in there of, say, the 70 to 75 is going to be roughly 15 to 20 a week kilometers at that higher pace. Some of that's gonna be in isolation where it's only running, so I might get, like, 8 to 10K of just pure run work at that, and
mhm,
then I might get another 5 to 6K, um, of compromise run work, and then we might get some really fast turnover work, which would be more like 200 meters at, mile pace or faster.
mhm,
So, the way that I like to do it is I like to have, like, 1 run specific session a week, and then 1 compromised running session a week. And then at the end of some runs, maybe do some turnover work where we're running faster, like really high-end neuromuscular work. Um, Not sprinting per se, because to sprint, you have to be in, like, a fully,
Mhm.
like, rested state, and you have to be very primed, and, like, very rarely do we ever sprint,
Mhm.
um, in our training, and very rarely, honestly, do I think you should sprint. I think if you're gonna sprint, I would do it on machines versus running, um, to be honest, because like, you should never be sprinting in HYROX, ever. Like, there's no need at any point where you should be sprinting, unless it is the final sprint off the last wall ball to get to the finish line, then you can sprint. That's my only time that I allow that. Um, but so what I would do is I would take a roughly 20 to 25% of my run volume, and I like to have that at race pace or faster within a week, and I like to have that broken up across 2 sessions, 1 compromised and 1 specific running.
Mhm. What about the compromise stuff? Have you got a go-to, thing to compromise with?
Um, I'll sorta so I like to compromise with lunges. I think that that's a very good one to use, and one that I'll do is, like, every 3 minutes, I'll do, like, 20 reverse lunges with 2 16-pound, 2 16-pound dumbbells, and I'll go into a 400 at race pace, and so something like that, like, one thing for that, definitely put a knee pad down so that you're not just banging your knees on the ground, because I can accumulate a lot of volume doing this. Like, let's say I do 15 rounds of that. Well, that's gonna be 300 lunges. Like, that's a lot. So that's a 45-minute workout where you're gonna accumulate 6K worth of running at race pace. You're gonna do 300 lunges with race pace or heavier dumbbells, and or race weight or heavier dumbbells. That's a lot of load on the legs. But it also teaches you how to, um, start to build up lactate and muscular fatigue, and then clear that while running at race pace off of those lunges. So I use
Mm,
that one. Another one that I like to do is 12 by every 4 minutes. You do a 400 ski into a 400 run, and you're doing the ski at roughly 10K pace and the run trying to match 10K pace, and that's a really tough one. And that's one that kinda hits your core a lot and gets spikes your heart rate, causes you to have to settle down, your breathing, and try to prevent any kind of abdominal cramping, because you do get a lot of core fatigue through that one. And then one more that I like to do is, this is a disgusting workout called the burpee 10K, where what you do is it's 12 by 800, and after every 800, you do 20 burpees, and then you finish on a 400. So you're gonna get 240 burpees, and you're gonna run a 10K, and it's as fast as you can go. And that one right there is disgusting. So, like, any of those can
mm.
be a way to, build up fatigue and run compromised.
Yeah, interesting, and those 3 are obviously very different, so presumably you adjust which one you're gonna put in based on the fatigue levels. You know, if your legs are absolutely hammered, then maybe you could, uh,
Probably do the
do
ski
the
one.
ski one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. The lunges is smart actually, isn't it? It makes total sense because the station before last, it's when you're gonna be the most fatigued, more or less, and then
Yeah.
have to run. So then it would make sense to do that. It's like we always do sleds for compromise stuff. But yeah, like lunges makes total sense.
Yeah, and I'll use sled for compromised ones as well. Like,
Hmm.
I have a workout with an assault runner that I do that's, it's a 60-minute, uh, 60-minute AMRAP, and it's 20 cals on the assault runner, 10-meter heavy push, 20 cals on the assault runner, 10-meter heavy pull, and you just do that for an hour, and it sucks. Like, you get to 45 minutes in, and you're like, "I have pushed heavier than race weight sleds, further to race distance, and I'm still running, and I still got 15 minutes left, and everything hurts." And you're just like, "Well, at least I know I'll be ready on race day."
Yeah, defo. Yeah, that one sounds interesting. Right, Josh B says, oh, hold on. It's a pretty similar question. What's his thoughts on speed work? I know he does a lot of his. It's literally the same question, but from someone else. Okay, we've got another. Jamie L says, if you could only work on one station plus running for the rest of the season, what would you choose and why?
Is this for me, or is this for somebody else? Is this for me personally?
Up to you. You can do both if you want.
Hmm. All right, so I'll do this. If I could only train one station plus running, I think the station that could have the biggest impact on all of a HYROX race is to train sled pull plus running.
Mm,
Um, Reason being is because the sled pull hits almost everything that a HYROX asks of you. It asks for grip, it asks for hinging and pulling, so you get that in your row and your ski. It does ask for your quads because you have to walk back, and if you feel like I mean, you feel your quads burn out during that, your quads are needed for lunges, sled push, wall balls. Um, so yeah, if there was only one station that I had to pick that it was like you can only train this station and you can only run, it would be sled pull and running. Um,
mm.
because those that I think that has the most transferable qualities to all the other stations, in my opinion.
Yeah, do you know that makes sense as well? Because I always think about wall balls, but my PB, my sled pull was really good, so
Yeah.
so probably was tracking out onto other stuff like you say. And then my last one, it was my worst, and then it ruined my weight race. So
Yeah, I think sled pull really like, you rarely see somebody have a bad sled pull in a good race, and you rarely see somebody have a good sled pull in a bad race. Like,
yeah.
I think that it's one of the stations that tells the tale of the race better than almost any other one, um, other than I mean, no, I've seen good races with great wall balls, and I've seen bad races with yeah. So, yeah, I think that and I would even say that for somebody else. If you only can choose one station, train sled pull. Like,
Mm,
that's it. It has the most transference in my opinion.
I love that. That's cool. Um, right, I sent you this next section in advance. I don't know if you had a chance to have a think about it, which is the overrated, underrated. So we've got food, exercise, supplement, and habit.
Yep.
Let's start with overrated food.
Okay. So, I'm gonna say this, like, I saw that question, I thought about it, and I think that what we have to actually set up first is, what is your goal more than anything? Because that's gonna change where I put certain things at. So, like, if you say your goal is health,
Mhm,
um, I think you would have a hard time saying that food isn't actually the first thing that you should be thinking about.
mhm,
If your goal is health, food should be the first thing you think about. And then after that, so I would but if you are talking about for sport, for performance, I would say a healthy diet is overrated. Like,
mhm,
I think like we talked about earlier, I think you can eat junk and you can get away with doing that, and you can have very high level performance over it. So, I will say for athletes, I think overrated is food. Um,
mhm,
you just need calories. And you need some semblance of a diet that works for your body, and it doesn't have to be this perfect diet, for you to be a great athlete. So I think food would be number 1. Number for overrated.
exercise. Yeah. It's oh, do you want to go? Yeah, we can do that way if you want, and then go underrated food. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, so I'll go with that. So overrated for sport performance, food. Underrated for health, food. So, like, it
Mhm.
depends on which way you're looking at it. They completely
Yeah.
flip. They completely flip. And
Yeah.
I would say on the other end for, um, I would say overrated for health, exercise. So if you're looking at a health perspective, I think like if you're just putting exercise as, hey, this is what I do, this is what keeps me healthy, you can be in really good fitness shape, but you can be in terrible health. Like your
Mhm,
metabolic health can be awful. And I think you can be quite unhealthy, but put out really good sport performance. It just takes a while for that to all manifest and break down, and it'll show up later in life.
mhm,
Um, so I would say that on the overrated side for health is exercise. Um, if we go to the performance side of things, then I'm thinking supplements. Like, dude, supplements, they're not useless, but they're pretty useless, to be honest. Like, supplements should not be high up on your performance ranking. Like, they're not gonna change you as an athlete unless you are deficient in something that is imperative for your function.
Mm,
Like, if you're anemic, then an iron supplement is gonna really help your performance, and I've been in that situation before, like, where I was having and it can help on levels you don't even expect. It can help with GI issues. It'll help with, of course, the fatigue that you're experiencing and the recovery, but, like, if we're saying there's something that's, like, underrated on a performance or overrated on a performance standpoint, it's mostly supplements.
mm.
They're not gonna make a huge difference. So they would be number 2. So I know that I've been bouncing between the 2, but for sport performance, um, overrated number 1 is food, overrated number 2 is supplements. Um, then I think number 3 would be habit, and number 4 would be exercise. If we're working on the sport performance, what is adequately given the right amount of attention, like, your training should be number 1.
Mm,
That's the thing that for sport performance, I don't think that you could overrate. Now you could overrate different types of training, and you could say, like, "This is the golden thing that you're supposed to be doing," and, in all actuality, that doesn't get the best results. So you could have that. But that's kinda my breakdown of overrated. So, food, supplements,
interesting.
habit,
Okay,
exercise.
yeah. So actually, you've actually reworked that into a new format.
Yeah,
Because I didn't give you much information, and I was just like, "Oh, hey man, a little bit of information for tomorrow." So normally, what it is like
okay.
what foods are overrated? Like I don't know,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
And then
tracking
what
now.
was
Dude, I took the macro scale and was like, "I'm gonna rank these this way."
no, I like it. Like that's interesting. I mean, if you want to run through it this way as well. So any
Dude, I don't mind.
food,
I'll break it the other way.
yeah. So
Um,
overrated, underrated types of food.
mm. Overrated types of food. And are we talking from a like, how are we talking? Are we talking in life or are we talking
Let's
in
go HYROX performance in your life.
okay. Um, Overrated right now, and it's hard to call this a food, is, in my opinion, like the bicarb stuff. I see so
Mm.
many you know what I'm talking about? That like
Yeah, yeah,
Martin
yeah,
bicarb, like,
yeah.
I think that's highly overrated. I
That would
think the
come
amount
under
that
supplement, by the
oh, is that gonna come
way.
under I don't know, I see people eating it with a spoon, dog.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
They eat it like a pudding, so I see it as a food, but I guess that is a supplement. Yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
Um Is there any food that I can think of in HYROX that I'm like, "This is just overrated?" Like,
Like,
I think
or
that
it could just be for you. Like, I don't know. I don't like avocados or something like that.
what is a food that's you know what? A food that is overrated and overutilized because I'm allergic to it and I can't have them is cashews.
Okay. Yeah.
Dude, I see that's we're gonna overrate cashews because I see those things in, like, every kinda trail mix and every kinda bar, and I'm like
uh,
and I the second I've bitten into them before, and immediately, like, my mouth goes numb and I start tingling and I go, "Fuck, I ate a cashew, didn't I?" And I turn it around like, "Oh, I ate a cashew." I'm like,
oh
for the
mate.
next half an hour, I just get to have this weird sensation where, like, my
Yeah.
face feels all funky. So, cashews, they're overrated.
Overrated. Okay. Underrated food.
Mm, an underrated food. What is a food that I honestly, I don't know how high up this is on people's list of foods that they love, but soft pretzels. I'll make a case that soft pretzels might be one of the best foods to ever grace the face of the earth. Like, I love a soft pretzel. If I see one anywhere, I'll stop anything. I
Okay.
I'll stop my own funeral and then come back from the dead and be like, "Hey, I need one of those." And then I'll go back down and be like, "Alright, guys, I'm good now. Y'all can
Uh,
finish."
you don't want to spend much time in the UK because we don't really have them.
Well, I haven't
Yeah.
spent much time in the UK, and that
Yeah.
might be why.
That's why he's never come in. All right. Exercise or movement, shall we say? Exercise
Mm,
movement, underrated, overrated. Let's start with.
overrated. This I think back squat is overrated for HYROX.
Hmm.
I think it has very little transferability to a lot of the movements, and, like, your best back squat guy might not move a sled nearly as good as somebody who's much worse. So I think back squat as it applies to HYROX is an overrated movement.
You mean?
I
I mean,
wouldn't
and so that would be a high bar back squat.
any kind, don't care.
Okay, any kind. Yeah.
Don't care. Like, I just think in terms of, like, if you ask somebody about their strength metrics and you're
Mhm,
asking about their back squat for HYROX, it's not going to translate that well. You
mhm,
could take a ton of people with a bunch of different back squats and you can put them on that 50-meter sled push in the race, and I don't think there's gonna be hardly any correlation between the 2 of them.
mhm.
Um, and that's not just me defending myself being bad at back squats.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Maybe for same reasons, but I I think it's right though. I do think it's right.
Yeah, and then an underrated exercise,
Yeah.
I think an underrated exercise is lunges.
Mm,
Like, I think the lunge is a awesome exercise for high rocks.
mhm.
I think if you like, when you wake up the day after a race, you're most sore, and I could be wrong for that, but where are you most sore at? Because I would say it's primarily calves and quads.
Yeah. Yeah, quads. Yeah, quads, calves, back usually.
Back.
Yeah.
And so lunges aren't they're not gonna hit on the back as much. Now, depending
Mhm,
on how you, like, if you're doing walking lunges, how you position your foot and where you drive through in the heel, it can be a lot of glute, which can help to stabilize.
mhm,
So, but I think heavy lunges are a really, really good training tool for high rocks. And I think they're an
mm,
underrated training tool for high rocks. And whether it be that you're doing them loaded on your back or with dumbbells, I think that has a better transference over than a back squat does.
mhm,
Because if you look at the position of a lunge and the position of a sled pull, the leg position is not that different. If you look at the leg position for like you're getting below 90 degrees when you're dropping into a deep lunge, that also can help with wall balls, not as well.
mhm,
Of course, but I think that they're an underutilized tool that you can do for high volume with pretty good both aerobic and anaerobic benefits.
mm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Supplement overrated.
Again, I guess we're going with the bicarb for
Yeah.
Martin, and I just think that it's because it's so trendy now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of a lactic buffering effect you're getting over a 60 to 65-minute event.
Mhm,
I think if you were using it for a 800 to a 1,500-meter run or a 2K row, I think it has a lot of application,
mm,
in that short window with what energy systems are being used there. I'm not sure that it has as much effect as it might just be a placebo on,
mhm, mhm,
on HYROX performance, but I see a lot of people taking it. So I think that one's overrated from yeah, that one's overrated from a supplement standpoint.
mm. It's got a lot of the people have got the affiliate links, haven't they? So it's always hard to figure out sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I could probably sit down and read more research into it and see, but I do think that it's just better for if you have an event that's under, like, 7 minutes, you're
I do
probably in a
bel
good place.
Yeah, I think there is some research on it, because I looked into it, but I think I believe it acts on a similar level that beta alanine does.
Okay.
So, about the whole, like, alkalinity thing and buffering
I mean,
that,
that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be
yeah,
a hydrogen ion buffer
mhm,
is what it's supposed to serve as. My question is, does it serve that purpose for the length of the race?
yeah,
I think that it has an acute performance impact, but I don't think that it stretches for 60 to 70 minutes.
mhm, yeah,
That's just my thought on it.
yeah, alright, and then underrated supplement.
Appropriately dosed caffeine. Like, I don't know of a better supplement out there for
Yeah, so good.
performance. Like, I don't think that you could overrate caffeine.
Yeah,
When you appropriately dose it, like, it's like the perfect performance enhancer with
mhm,
regards to, fatigue resistance, mental clarity, like, all of the kinda stuff that you kinda need while you're out there. Now, if you overdose it, it can be a problem. Like,
mhm,
you're gonna end up with, like, tachycardia, and you're gonna overheat, and you're gonna bomb your blood sugar out. So, that's why I say appropriately dosed caffeine. Um But yeah, that's what I would say is something that's underrated, is, like, I don't think people know how much caffeine is actually probably helping their performance when they get it
Yeah.
right.
So, like, I think it's about, like, what, between, like, 500 and 800 milligrams, something like that, I think, is
For
around.
over what duration? So, like, the recommended amount that you're supposed to take with regards to, like, you probably shouldn't do more than this in a day is 450. Now
Definitely
for
go over
yeah, yeah, I'm sure you do.
that.
I have at times.
Yeah.
What I've found is, like, going into a race 45 minutes out, if I do something around, like, 200 to 250, I
Mhm.
could look up what it is, like, you know,
Per
milligrams per
kilo, yeah,
kg
yeah.
of yeah, I could look up what the dose response is supposed to be like. Um, but yeah, if you get it right, it's very beneficial.
Mm.
If you get it wrong, it can be quite detrimental though. So, you're playing with fire.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I seen that, someone once said that you have to do it, like, in advance, like 90
Yes,
minutes out to get
yes.
the benefits, and I'm still like, I resist that a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I love caffeine, but I've always thought that, like, if you send it in prior, is that not gonna just make you more nervous? Or, like, is
So the reason that, like, it takes time for it to get to the system to begin working on those, like, adenosine receptors to then block so
Mm,
the reason I tell people to take it 45 minutes out is because the amount of time that it normally takes to actually get into the body and begin having an effect is around an hour. So I
right, so
like
even though that you get a buzz, like, 15 minutes in, it's actually not fully gotten into your system, and that's the same reason why you stay up at late at night, because it's so
correct,
far
correct.
into your system, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because once it gets in there, like, it has it and now it also depends on how fast of a caffeine, for lack of a better word, processor you are. Like, how
Mhm,
fast do you break it down? Are you somebody who caffeine, gets into your system and you recycle through it really quickly,
mhm,
and it's in and out 3 hours, you're like, I'm fine, I'm fine." Or are you somebody who has a very long half-life and it's in there and 9 hours later, so you're somebody who you drank coffee at 2 in the afternoon, and your sleep is messed up because of that, whereas somebody else, they metabolize it very quickly, they drink it at 2 and it's 6 o'clock, and they're like, "I don't even feel it anymore." Like,
mm,
so it does depend on your metabolism for caffeine, but in general, I would say if you're 45 minutes out, you put in around 200 milligrams of it to 250, like, you're gonna be cruising at a pretty good spot, and if you're somebody who gets jittery, then something to pair it with would be like L-theanine or something like
mhm.
that to help kinda, like, blunt the response.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What about like intra caffeine? So obviously load it in, but would you like gels and stuff? I've literally like eat munch down Pro Plus during a
Yeah.
race. I feel like it helps. Whether, but like
Well,
my nervous system is wrecked afterwards. That's the only
ye
thing.
so I'm not s in an event like this, I wouldn't take caffeine in intra because I'm done in 55 to 60 minutes.
Mm,
Like, if I take let's say I take a gel at 30 minutes with caffeine in it, well, the odds of it actually giving me any benefit are super low because I've already taken caffeine
mhm,
and now I'm adding more to it, and if it's already doing its job of stopping, like, adenosine bonding to those receptors and there's nothing more to block, I've given substrate that I don't need.
yes.
So it's like, it doesn't have an effect. The bigger effect probably coming from the gel is just the like glucose receptors in the mouth just picking up that like, "Hey, I'm getting input of, energy, therefore, I don't need to be afraid of shutting down." So, you're probably getting more
Mm,
benefit from just knowing that you're getting calories or sugar, and your body understanding that it's getting fuel for the effort that it has. So, I'm a big fan of taking fuel intra-workout. I'm not a huge fan of caffeine for a shorter duration effort. For something that's like 4 hours, maybe it makes more sense.
yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, last one. Overrated
Mhm.
habit.
An overrated habit. Um, I think cold plunging, honestly, I think it's severe I think
Zara
it's
Piergiani said that one actually.
is that what she said too?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think cold plunging is, like, severely overrated. Um, yeah, could it have some benefit? I'm sure. Do I like ice baths at times? Yes, I like using them in preparation for races. I feel like it really helps with like my lower body inflammation primarily, as well as my nervous system feels a lot snappier afterwards.
Mhm.
So I do think it has benefits, but on like a day-to-day basis, consistently doing it, I think one, you don't wanna just be, like, taking ice baths and cold plunges all the time because inflammation's not always a bad thing. Like, you should have some of that in your body to get the correct repair response from the damage you've done. But then on the second part, I don't know if it has nearly the benefits that people proclaim it does. Um, so I might even add in just, like, any, like, polarized temperature response. So whether it be cold plunging or sauna,
Mhm.
I think saunas are great. But I think to get the effect that you have to get from a sauna as well, you have to do it in a very highly dosed amount at
Mhm.
specific times to basically cause the heat shock protein response that you're trying to get to therefore increase the blood plasma volume and get more red blood, all that. Like,
Mhm.
you can't just be like, "Oh, I sit in the sauna for 15 minutes 3 times a week." And be like, "I'm getting good benefits from that." You're probably not. Like,
Mhm.
you have to do a pretty specific protocol to get a
Mhm.
response from it.
Mhm.
So, anything that is like that. So, the way that I said well-dosed caffeine is a great, like I think that loosely applied temperature, um,
Yeah.
stimulus is overrated. It's gotta
Mhm.
be really well regulated and done for you to get the benefits you want from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I quite like it and I've been through like my Joe Rogan phase of like
Yeah.
doing it, and I don't really do it so much anymore. But where I do like it is if I need to like uh, just get into like a more parasympathetic state.
Okay.
Let's say I've done a hard session and then I've got a day of meetings or whatever. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I can be a little bit like bit edgy,
Mhm.
if I've like again smashed in a bit of caffeine, done a big hard HYROX or whatever. But then if I do like a bit of an ice bath, it does tend to like almost like modulate,
Mhm.
kind of maybe does the effect that maybe breath work might do
Yep.
or something like that. But I don't disagree with you. Um, all right, and then underrated habit.
Underrated habit. I This is probably going to be and this is something that is I'll say is underrated, but I don't do enough, is, a good mobility routine. I think that that's a highly underrated thing that people pass over, um, quite often, and we need to get back to the fact that, like, the best training that you can do is the training you can do consistently, and then a mobility routine is most likely going to put you in a place where you can, 1, achieve proper positions for movements, and that's gonna put a better load on your body from a physics standpoint, and then that is going to allow you to accumulate repetitions without getting injured, and so I think that that can all tie back, so having a proper mobility routine can allow you to move better, which can allow you to absorb load better, which can allow you to train at a higher, capacity without getting hurt. The second part for mobility is it allows for, again, better positions, which are normally more efficient. So if you can now do things more efficiently, you're getting more energy return or less energy use for movement. You haven't increased your base physiology, like your VO2 max didn't go up. Your lactate threshold didn't go up. None of that changed, but you're able to do something easier. Therefore, you can do it faster. And we're in a sport where what is valued is speed. It's a clock. You're racing a clock. You're not racing anything else. It's not a who has the highest VO2 max. That's not what's tested. What's tested is who can do the high rocks the fastest.
Mm,
And if you can now get into better positions, like for me with wall balls, I can squat better, I can cycle rate faster, I can cut 10 seconds off. That can be a difference between 3rd place and a world championship. So, what I think is underrated is a proper mobility routine that allows you to achieve better positions, to train more, and go faster.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, love that. That's awesome. And yeah, I'm thinking now. I'm like, yeah, I need to do more mobility. I used to be loads better at it.
You just gotta
Uh,
slide it. It's actually a lot easier for me because I have a almost 3-year-old. So I
mhm.
spend a lot of time on the floor.
You're always down there,
Like
yeah.
I'm down there on the floor, we're hitting deep squats, we're, like, waddling around and kinda stuff, so just being down to the ground is something that's really useful for just movement in general.
Mm.
We don't have to be like that guy who crawls around on his hands and feet, like, you've probably seen him. Did you ever see that dude? He just
What, HYROX or
no, 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 he just, like, it was some guy who was online, and, like, he was just walking on his hands every day.
oh, I've se yeah, there's like a yeah, I've seen some videos of I don't think it was a guy, but, like, yeah,
D and I
yeah,
mean,
there's, like, this new thing. Yeah,
he can move on his hands like a chimp. Like, I mean, this dude had crazy ability to crawl and all this kinda stuff. I'm not saying we gotta go there, but, I am saying that it probably helps to be on the floor a little more.
yeah. All right, man. Well, we're running over a little bit, so I'll
Yeah,
wrap it up very shortly.
for sure.
Let's just talk about the rest of the season. Like,
Yep.
what are you working on? What are you hoping to achieve? Well, I think we have an idea of what you're wanting to achieve, but talk us through your thoughts for the season ahead.
Yeah, so what we got next, I won't race again until Phoenix, and then Phoenix is gonna be at the very end of January, so that'll be a major there. I'll be racing in the singles, like, elite race, and then I'm in doubles with my training partner, Steven Pelkofer, um, who he and I we've become good buddies through the sport, decided we wanted to race together, and have made it to the Elite 15, at least in the doubles, like, for the qualifying, and we need to make it to Worlds. So, our goal is to make it to Worlds. That was our goal when we set out to do this, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and we've done a lot of the work we need to do, but we need to punch that ticket. So, I'm looking at that for Phoenix. I'm in talks with Lauren Weeks about doing Houston and us doing mixed doubles together to see just how fast we could possibly go, which would be
Nice.
a lot of fun. Um, After that, I'll go over to Poland and race in Warsaw and do the major there, and we'll see if we need to race doubles again for a qualifying spot if we didn't get it in Phoenix. I think before that is actually Washington DC, which is like you know how they have like the regional championships or whatever?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's our regional championships.
Yeah.
So that'll be another spot where we could possibly qualify. And then after that, I don't think I have anything until World Championships, which is in June over in Stockholm. So if we
Mhm.
look at like how we want the rest of the season to go, we want to get a qualifying spot for doubles since we've already got it for singles. I'd like to break the world record in mixed doubles with Lauren Weeks. That'd be really
Mhm.
fun. Um, I want to just continue that every single race I show up at, I race like a contender and I'm in there and they're like, "You cannot count Dylan Scott out as being somebody who can win this race." Um, and I wanna just continue to improve on some of the areas that I have deficiencies, but then build on some of the areas where I'm already very, very good at to make them the best in the field. Like,
Mhm.
I wanna be somebody where we get to burpee broad jumps, you're up on me by 20 seconds, and I catch you every time. You cannot get away from me.
Mhm.
Like, I wanna create weapons out of some of the movements that I have, where in a race, you're like, "Dude, this is his time to shine, and here he comes." And then because of that, play a role in the US relay team come Worlds. So I'd like to be able to make the US relay team again, um, where I have a very busy Worlds weekend where I'm racing solo, I'm racing the team relay, I'm racing doubles. Um, and yeah, that would be how I'd want things to go from my athletic side. Yeah.
How do you think the what do you think those top positions in the men's elite singles is going to look like? Who are you going to be jostling with?
I I mean, yeah, you're gonna have Tim Winish, reigning world champion, and then we go back a year, who was world champion? Alex Ronkovic, he'll be there. Then we go back a year, and we got Hunter McIntyre, and he'll be there. Um, I'm fully in the mix with those guys without question at this point. We've got up and comers who I think have very, very like promising abilities. Where you see Josh Van Zeelen, and then you've got Charlie Botterill. And those guys can mix it up. JK hasn't been having a great season, but that doesn't mean that, 6 months from now, he's not in tremendous shape and
Mhm.
is on the world championship starting line as a problem. I think that the parity in this sport has gotten really condensed. And it used to be that you would have like, oh, we got 2 guys that can win this. Now we
Yeah.
got 3 guys. And now it's like, I think we got like 10 people who could, if they're having a day, go out there and make a charge for world championships. Um, and that just makes it all the more interesting.
Mhm.
You don't have a monopoly of talent anywhere. You have a lot of guys who can go out there and punch a ticket on any given day. and that makes it stressful for me. Like, I have to line up. I've always said that, like, when I line up at the Elite 15, I have 14 problems to solve, and it's just like a test. Some problems are harder than others. Some problems are very easy to solve, and some problems are super complex, and I might not be smart enough to solve it, and they beat me that day. What's happening is every one of those test problems is becoming more difficult, year over year,
Mhm.
but I'm still there, and I'm still getting to take the test, so that means I must be doing alright.
Fuck yeah. Love it. Where should people go if they want to check out all these stuff?
Yeah, so everything for me is mostly, from just day-to-day stuff, check me out on Instagram, the Hybrid Raccoon. If you're looking for training or anything like that, go to hybridraccoonracing.com. That's where we have our ebooks, 16-week ebook. We're coming out with a beginner's ebook that'll be dropping next week, which will be the week of the, was that 21st, 22nd? Um, and then that's where one-on-one coaching and all that is. Vlog stuff is on YouTube. So Hybrid Raccoon Racing channel, if you want to see more about the getting stuck in Canada kind of stuff. We'll be dropping like a training day vlog and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, those are kind of the places that you can find me. Just shoot me a DM if you got questions.
Awesome. And I'll link all that up in the episode description, and I recommend people check it out.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best of luck this season. And I'll look forward to speaking to you soon.
And much appreciated. Heal up that hamstring. Have a good race in Stockholm.
Thank you, mate. Hey guys, it's me. Just a quick one before you get going. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can check out links to my guests via the episode description below. And a reminder to claim your free VIP pass month at InDeep. Go to indeep.com/podcast. That's INDIIP.com/podcast. If you're looking to improve your life and build habits, I really think you're going to love this tool. All links are in the episode description. Thanks for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.